30 on a Thursday night, and you're tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is Chip Chat. Welcome to Chip Chat, everybody. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez. How you doing, Tez?
I'm doing well, buddy.
Yeah.
This is the
who are you? Tez?
Oh, well, I was gonna say this is the second week in a row this has been fucked up. So it obviously has nothing to do with whoever is doing this. But
yeah, apparently it doesn't matter who hosts the show. It's gonna suck no matter what.
I mean, look, last week shit chat.
It was great.
I
what
guess
are you talking about?
We tried our best. We tried our best. We did what we could.
Well, welcome.
It was a complete disaster, man. I had to, do this, do that, and
yes,
keep talking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he had to do a lot. Again,
Brian was a heavy lift last week. That's for sure.
I just love the clips that I'm just talking to.
Well, I watched the show, and I did manage to get it to it live while you guys were on. I did text you throughout.
Yeah, you did.
And I appreciate all of the times you said how hard it was.
Oh yeah, clearly, yeah. It's not. I never have doubted that carrying this show was a burden, a boulder on your back. Yeah.
I'm not sure if boulder on my back is the right way to describe it.
Talk enough, so it's all right.
That's true. Yeah,
for you. It's not
sort of naturally inclined to it,
right?
But it is one of those things where it is difficult to do if you don't have the help. And I mean, there's a reason this is not
I had
a
to
one
help.
person.
Brian was here, and it was still difficult.
Yeah, but there's a reason this isn't a one person show.
Oh, I individuals who are able to do just to do that by themselves is just, I find that to be crazy. There's a few folks who are able to just carry on shows by themselves, and there are some that I enjoy and I still listen to, but I do find that to be an art. I don't think that's different because I enjoy the communal aspect.
Yeah, the people who do these things by themselves are people like Rush and Shapiro and that's not a group I want to be in.
That's fair.
I think that in the case of both of them, and maybe all of them, the person that they're talking to is their producer.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
And they just talk to them and at them, and that person's job is to just nod along to keep them going.
Right.
Which is not as funny. Okay, so here's the thing. We got a lot to go over.
A lot. Some of the stuff is what is this when they say, please tune into, the news is breaking rather quickly. So at the time you listen to this even live, it's probably changed. So tune into, I don't know what source of news you trust anymore. I'm just going to say NPR.
This is a developing story. The whole world is a developing story right now. So we have a lot of things that we need to go over. However, the most important thing that we learned today in the whole world, and keep in mind, we have, we're waiting to see what happens in Gaza, right? We maybe have a deal, maybe kind of.
Yeah.
The Israelis still haven't signed anything or agreed to anything, and they were
I thought they this evening it went through the parliament, right?
We're having a vote on it. I don't know that it got if it got totally sorted, and I know that as of at least a few hours ago, they were still bombing. The Israeli ministers approved the ceasefire, but we'll see where that goes from there. And I'm sure we'll have to look into that a little more deeply. That's a big developing story. Yes. Okay. Another developing story is that some lady who currently holds the job as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia and has no staff filed an indictment on Tish James. It's not clear what's in the indictment. It is clear that it's very thin and it's not going to work. That's a developing story as we slide faster into fascism. All of these things are happening, right? There's a lot going on. There's playoff baseball. There's all kinds of stuff. Okay, but the most important thing that we
Playoff
learned
baseball
today,
after fascism and playoff baseball just back. Those are just wild. That's why
you
the
don't think
fans.
there was playoff baseball in the 30s?
Oh yeah, there was playoff baseball in the 30s, but not in the fascist country. Well, I don't know. Some other people would say, actually, no. Yeah, you couldn't. When the segregated league, maybe the people would say you're already in the fascist country. I digress. Actually,
Walk right into it.
there it
Okay,
is.
with all of that going on, here's the thing that we learned this afternoon, that apparently autism is caused by circumcision.
I missed this one. I thought we were still on Tylenol.
This dick!
You would have thought, but no. This afternoon, in a cabinet meeting with cameras rolling and all of these other people who are, allegedly running the country, Bobby Kennedy Jr. told everybody that he had 2 studies that showed a link, a causal link between circumcision and autism. And then he said it's because after they do it, they give the baby Tylenol. And all of these people who are cabinet secretaries of state, of defense, of interior, of all of these things went, oh, yes. Well, that makes pretty good sense, Bobby. Yes. None of them, not a one, was like, all right, Bobby, shut the fuck up. You're making us all look really stupid right now. They were all just like, yeah. Circumcision, autism, totally tracks. Yeah. Nobody was like, what do we have autistic women for? Like, how did that happen? Nobody asking that.
No one's asking that question.
Nobody was like, hey, whoa.
Well, this is kind of in reruns, but it's just fitting because the real RFK Jr., Trials of a Truth Warrior by Dick Russell.
Yeah.
That's a real book. I swear.
That is a book.
It's a real book.
Anybody can publish something.
I'm just saying. It's a real book. Dick
Okay.
Perfect.
So we had a whole show planned, and then that bombshell dropped. So we're just going to scrap everything and talk about how my bris caused autism. I'm not sure.
We had to cut a part of the show to fit that in.
Oh. Just a little part, though.
A wee part.
Good Lord. Okay. Let's get back.
That's terrible.
Let's get back to a slightly more sensitive topic. Us. So we did notice in our stats this week there was a big jump in listeners all over the world. A lot in Brazil, apparently. So hello, everybody in Brazil. Thank you for tuning in to shows from 2019 and on. We appreciate it. And I hope you're learning stuff. And I hope you're not learning the wrong things about our country, because
everything we said back then was wrong.
Nah. You might be getting some mixed impressions.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, this week the government remains shut down. That is still happening. Chicago is under attack from Texas. That's a real thing. And Portland is under attack from a frog, which is also real. Brian, do we have the video?
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Oh, God, I'm worried.
They are, in fact, turning the frogs very, very gay.
Oh, God, it's happened.
And we can prove it.
Oh, no. Alex Jones is losing it right now. Oh, it's working. Clearly we need frogs here in DC.
Oh man. So yeah, that's the war zone that Trump is sending troops to stop.
Stupid Stalin, man. This is it. This is really it, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, it does make sense, right, for the theatrics and like there's a long-term play that's here, but it's so dumb that anybody with regular eyes looking at this, I think across the country is like, well, those troops are in Portland, but there was a green frog, Maggie. Don't get it. But it doesn't seem to be the truth.
Well, clearly they're turning the frogs gay.
Clearly.
Then the next night there were like puffy unicorns and other things dancing.
Because it's Portland.
It's Portland.
God.
It's the most Portland.
Yeah. What are we doing? It's a waste.
Like, if the city is already a bit of a joke of itself, right? That like Armisen made an entire fake documentary series about Portlandia.
Right.
Which is so on the nose. I mean, it like people in Portland apparently love this show and apparently think it's very funny about how accurate it is. It does really beg the question of like, of all the places to choose.
Yeah.
And it also does seem clear that the things he's seeing are footage of 2020. And he thinks it's happening now.
Exactly. It's clearly that.
Yeah. So shout out to that Portland frog. That's amazing. Oh man. Okay. So we're gonna have headlines. We're gonna break down the shutdown and try to do all that. We're gonna try to figure out why Trump is sending troops to your city next. Also, Jim Comey had a fun week. We don't really know exactly where that's going yet, but now Tish James gets to join him. We still don't have any Epstein files. Partly because Mike Johnson is a fucking douche.
I mean, he's slick, actually. It's a slick moves of
It's a slick move, but it is shit.
It is, yeah.
And Gallego and Kelly like buttonholed him and were like, hey, and they had the cameras rolling too. They're like, why the fuck don't you seat our Congress lady? And he's like, I'd love to, but we just, we don't have a schedule for it. They're like, that's bullshit. And he goes,
right.
No, that's the one I'm going with. And they're like, you could see like Commander Kelly was ready to like fighter pilot his ass.
Yeah. I mean, Speaker Johnson has figured it out. It seems to be. You remember didn't think he'd last this long.
Remember when we both thought he wasn't going to make it a month?
Right. And political will and, bending over backwards.
He's bending over something. So that's why we don't have Epstein files yet, because she would make the deciding vote on the discharge petition, and that would force action in the House. And of course, MAGA Mike does not want to do that because his boss told him he better not. So we'll see how long he can hold out on that. I mean, that's literally just like a ticking clock. So, okay. All that said, do you have a word?
Oh yeah, I don't have a word. I'll think of a word. But before we go into the break, I wanted to send a shout out to one of my good friends. I would say a mentor specifically around hip hop in this area. My good brother YU. Who was in a hit and run the other morning. And was severely injured in his recovering, as I hear it currently, but was pretty serious. So, love you, sir. Hopefully, onto a speedy recovery, and fuck the motherfuckers who did that. And yeah, it's just around the safe streets in DC and the folks that are, again, just being outside, whether you're a pedestrian, walking, or riding any type of bike, motor vehicle, just not safe out here. And want to send a shout out and praise to his family on that. So,
I started to see that trickling in on the socials. So yes, absolutely. Yes. Hope and people don't drive like assholes. What the hell, man?
It's just it's fucking a damn shame that that's happening. But sorry on that. Yeah, on that
side. No, that's perfectly reasonable. That's what this platform is for.
Right.
It's nominally community radio anyway.
Right.
So we hope YU recovers soon, and we really hope that people will be more careful in general.
Right. In general.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have a word?
Yeah, I gotta work.
Okay. I've got a word.
We butchered this last week. It was so bad.
Yeah, I listened to you two try twice.
It was so bad. So we'll try to be.
And you'd think in like
you would
5
think
years of doing this.
You would think. No, but it's muscle memory because I don't do that. I don't ever have to do that part.
That's true.
It's rare, and I butchered it. It was all my fault.
Okay, you go first this time.
Yes, I do go first this time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so sit back, grab some
brooms.
It's Blackhawk time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
Let's pop me out.
All right, now it's time to get into some headlines.
Here we
Bunch
go.
of stuff's been going on. And we're going to read some of them. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll take the first
Did you
one.
count them out?
I didn't count them out. I only read the
Okay.
show one time. Right. No, I think, yeah, go ahead.
There's a few landmines in there.
There's a
just
few.
know.
So yeah, here we go. Let's just, we'll try to dodge them, which I never do. France's fifth prime minister in the last 2 years resigned this week, citing partisan acrimony and the fact that he just wanted a baguette and some wine, and work is too hard.
Yes.
Yes, obviously. I feel him. That's what I want. Work is
Yeah.
too hard.
I mean, that's one of the things the French get right is they don't work at all. All right. Donald Trump attempted to send federalized National Guard troops to Oregon, but was thwarted when a judge that he appointed ruled that the deployment was, quote, fucking pointless.
I mean, you're a appointee, obviously. At the speech in Quantico last week, Trump complained that he doesn't like the look of the Navy's battleships. Also on his list, the Air Force's new Jenga blocks and the Army's improved Monopoly board. That's good.
Hakeem Jeffrey's sombrero saw its shadow, meaning 6 more weeks of shutdown.
Yeah. The shutdown means that air traffic controllers are being forced to work with no pay, or as Kanye called it, a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
3/5 of the time. Oh, pause on that.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw, but there. You know that Indiana's a place.
Yeah.
They have a lieutenant governor, which I was shocked to find out Indiana bothered with that or reading. But their lieutenant governor went on TV, something with the camera, and filmed himself explaining that the 3/5 compromise was not about discrimination, but it was a clever move by the North to eventually end slavery.
That is that's the wildest spin of that I've ever heard.
I was pretty shocked. I was like,
wait, I don't even want to comment on this until I go watch this, but that is insane. So
he took off his jacket in shirt sleeves and sat on the front of his desk like a high school teacher and commenced to explain that the 3/5 compromise was not discriminatory and did not, in fact, enshrine slavery in the Constitution, but rather prove that it would ultimately meet its demise.
Not true.
Yeah.
Just that. I mean, I know we're interpreting things from the past however we want now. But it's just not true.
That's not even close to
Not
true.
even close. I'm pretty sure there's written documents about, like, it's clearly written down that people are like, well, if we are going to do this, they have to be counted some way.
Well, specifically, there aren't enough white folks in the South to get any voting representation if we don't also count all of these quote unquote people who just happen to be around down here, just taking up space.
Happy immigrants, the happy immigrants that came over to help.
So I encourage you to go watch that.
That's crazy.
Maybe I discourage you from watching,
I don't know.
But it exists. Yeah. Oh, breaking news.
Yes, breaking news. In baseball,
yes,
the Los Angeles Dodgers will be heading to another league championship series. They beat the Phillies 2-1 in extra innings.
Way to finish it off.
Yeah, because people were like, oh, you want the other evil empire to win? I say, look here, you know what? Dodgers, a lot of things that people don't like about that, but you know what? Their name is still the Dodgers, and as a black person, I can't have too much hate against the Dodgers, right? There's because the whole thing. If I like baseball, there's a reason. If you don't know why, that's on you.
Think of 42 reasons.
Yeah, there's 42 reasons. So I don't have any beef with them. All right, I don't really have it. And my team beat them to go to the friggin' World Series. So I don't care anymore. I'm over it.
Also,
Phillies though can't be that. It just cannot be that.
The Phillies walked in the tying run tonight. So
yeah. No, it can't be the Phillies. They can't be happy.
No, I think isn't that a rule? Like Bryce can never make a World Series after.
That's
a clown question, bro.
Clown question, bro.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Back to the headlines. Let's see. Where do we leave off? Without air traffic controllers, the Trump administration has sent acting FAA administrator, who is also the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, to fill in at all of those towers based on his years of experience as a contestant on MTV's Road Rules. And that is all true. We did not make up Road Rules. He was one of the Road Rules contestants. Yes.
Wow. That's insane.
For years.
Wow.
The best people.
This administration. All right. Towers all over the country from Boston to Albuquerque have been experiencing shortages, which would explain why Bugs Bunny missed his left turn. God gracious.
That is a very, very, very famous joke that nobody knows. Do you have any idea the frame of reference there?
No, I mean, I don't. I'm trying to clue into where this would have happened in a episode of.
So in nearly every Bugs episode where he, pops up in some place,
right?
He thinks he's on his way to vacation, and he pops up and he realizes he's not there, and he pulls out his map and from digging underground, and he always says that, "Oh, I should have made that left turn at Albuquerque." Or I shouldn't have made the left turn at Albuquerque. Right. So that's the joke.
There we go. We've explained it now.
Yeah, well, that's a history lesson.
Right? Well, I guess that's fair. It's good history.
Children have no culture these days.
Fair.
Okay. Active duty troops are also not being paid, but the ones that have been deployed to Chicago did get some deep dish, so they're okay.
Pizza soup.
Hey, it will not have you slander.
I don't have
deep dish pizza.
I don't have an issue with deep dish pizza. I'm just saying. Sometimes I look at them like it's pizza soup.
It's delicious.
No argument there.
Okay.
Speaking of troops, did you see the guys that Greg Abbott sent to Chicago? It looks like they also haven't been jogging in a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've got.
There they go. There they are.
Seriously, these guys look like they volunteered for the mission based on Chicago hot dogs alone.
I mean, look, I'm not here to fat shame people. That's all I'll say.
Better put that image back up. Go ahead. Don't fat shame anybody, though.
People come in different sizes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Look, they just come in different sizes. Sorry. I didn't even realize that was a headline. I thought he was making a joke. Local Chicago police objected to the deployment as their local donut shops are simply not up to the volume. That's good, actually.
Texas's National Guard looks like what happens when their entire diet consists of chili and brisket.
which again, like, not
would
bad
be
thing.
delicious.
Delicious, man.
I'm
Those
just
two
not
things
saying
I
it puts you in. Don't put you in fighting shape.
And probably not. No, the only thing it would be was fighting a nap.
Oh,
We heard these guys were selected for the mission because with their mustaches and size, they could go undercover as Billy Swarsky super fans, the bear.
stop bears.
Yeah, bears. That one dude does look like that.
Doesn't he?
Yeah,
Brian,
that
put
is
that
really
back
good.
up.
Yeah, the one dude does look like that.
Brian.
Insane.
He's like, whatever, you guys. I don't.
He's like,
I'm
I did it twice.
I'm not doing this dumb shit.
I worked last week.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do one more. Texas guard troops look like the Pillsbury Doughboys cousins who all played offensive line in high school.
The Pillsbury O-line is kind of crazy.
Yes.
Right. Watching MTG realize that people like healthcare and feel like they're getting screwed reminds me of watching my kids learn to read. That is, it has been really. It's been kind of wild to watch her.
I think she's 2 cycles away from flipping if there are going to be additional elections.
What do we do with that?
I mean, okay, one, I'm not the only one who's saying that anymore. Actual people, I was going to text you like in the middle of I think it was maybe an episode, it was either 1A or like, I don't know, one of the serious shows on NPR, and they were talking to a retired general.
Oh, yeah, no, I listened to this. It was If You Can Keep It series. Yes. Oh, yes, I definitely.
And he was like, I don't think we're going to have a 26 election. I think there's going to be a fake emergency to try to stop that. And I was like, ha, I'm not crazy. Everybody's coming around.
The only reason that I don't think that happens is the fact that the individual in the White House still likes to win. And I think the need to have the elections to try to win the elections is something that he's not
He'll just do a fake thing and say he won it. He still thinks he won 2020.
Yeah, but he didn't. But yeah, I know. I think elections happen. Now, what happens counting and the official counts at the end of the year next year and getting people seated, I think that could be a bigger issue there. But I do think the elections still happen.
You think
because again,
like when there are elections in Russia?
But again, this is the problem I have with this whole thing is that as the American people, when you start saying this stuff, then it's almost like you're giving into it and setting up. It's like, no, the same way people out here fighting these folks, fighting these people, ICE coming in there and they're in their communities doing that. The American people will do the exact same thing to fight to make sure that they have elections. And we pray that the courts assist with that. That's the only thing we can hope for.
As I mentioned before, who enforces the court order?
I hear you. I also hope, and if it gets to that, you know what? That same military general also, I feel like mentioned in there that the military will also at a certain point need to wake up and realize what their job is here. And that is the other piece of this. And that would be very scary to get to, but there's a job that they're here to do, and there's something that they need to uphold, and that's still true.
But it would be an extraordinary circumstance.
It would be. I mean,
but they would have to act outside the command of the commander-in-chief or contrary to an order by the commander-in-chief. And it would, I mean, look, we can get into this a little further, but the more and more you see these things where ICE is shooting people with pepper balls for singing or claiming that they got rammed when they didn't and shooting a man dead after dropping off his kids at school, people are seeing this not just in video, but this is happening in their neighborhoods in front of them. And if you're worried about a backlash or a radicalization, doing stuff like smashing an entire apartment building to zip tie naked 7-year-olds and throw them in the back of a U-Haul truck, people will see that. And they did see that. And whatever their feelings were before, if you see something like that happen in front of your face and you don't feel the rage necessary to defend what is the regular order of things in this country, where children do not get zip tied naked out of their beds,
Right.
there's something wrong with you. But if you did see that and feel that rage, you do wonder why these ice cubes are so worried about people finding out who the fuck they are, because it will come to a head, and it is getting there. So just, I know I keep saying the same thing over and again, but I want it on record, because it's just, we're making progress towards the worst thing that we could ever have.
Yeah, and it is on. It's on. We don't have bullet trains or high-speed rail on here, but this is on a high-speed rail towards that. I don't disagree with that, but what I do believe is, I do believe the American people will eventually have that moment, and what the reaction is of that moment. Again, it might not be. It's probably not going to look good, but I think whatever the outcome, whatever the day after is of that, I think we will look up and be like, American people said enough was enough, and they stood up for this.
The first thing that people should say when they look up on that day after is, "Oh my God, Chip was right."
Oh, well, that's all. That's all you're hearing. That's all. I put a pin in the. And I want to. Yeah, guys, want to put a pin in the. When we get to like the political retribution that seems to be happening right now, because there's another point that I don't want to waste here.
We'll get back to that. All right, let's continue on with the headlines.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Today in a cabinet meeting, RFK Jr. confidently declared that he knew of 2 studies that said circumcision causes autism. Of course, RFK Jr. does love studying the circumcisions of children, or how else would he know?
Hard to say.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying. How else would he know?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. All right, moving along. Trump levied new tariffs on Switzerland, claiming that they have been sending us low-grade cheese with holes in it.
That's right. We're only getting half the cheese we pay for.
Exactly. Holy-ass cheese.
In Germany, young TikTok-inspired Gen Z folks gathered to participate in the viral video exercise of eating pudding with a fork, which is a much more preferable reason for Germans to gather than some of the others.
I would say. Shouldn't be mad at that.
Yep.
Be mad at that. The WNBA finals are in full swing, causing a dip in Subaru sales.
Yes.
That's wild. That's wild. That's wild.
Tell me it's not true.
No.
Over in the NFL, the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens all lost, causing many broken doors and walls.
Nah, yeah, you know. God. How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Doors, falling like doors. In baseball, the Yankees battle back from elimination, meaning we will all have to deal with their fans for at least the rest of this week. Psych-a-boo-boo.
I wrote that before it was over.
I know. Oh, my God. I thought Judge had his moment in the wrong game.
Yeah. I mean, he did save him for a brief moment there, and then the Jays finished it off.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Hockey started up, so if you're wondering why all your white friends are excited, now you know.
No, I'm fully in. That Caps loss the other night was brutal. Fucking brutal.
Sad.
I'm fully in on, like, I'm doing a deep dive this year in hockey. I've never done it. I've always been like on the outskirts. This year I'm full in on it. Fully in. Just like football. This is a weird year for me with sports. It's a very weird year. At UNC, or as some people call it, at UNC, they're chatting by. They got a real UNC running shit down there. At UNC, there's a chatter of buying out Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend, Jordan, who is incidentally recently trademarked the brand Gold Digger.
That's true.
That is true.
That is true. Let's see. Apparently, UNC will have to put their dreams of being a football school on hold and go back to just being Duke's basketball punching bag.
No. I feel like is that still the case?
No, they're sort of even these days.
It's even now, but it was.
But that's not how the joke works.
I know. Sorry, I just trampled it with truth.
I should throw in an NC State reference because they've been kind of winning that state.
Yeah,
currently.
I was gonna say, yeah, right. They've been
they're the better
they're
team.
The better team, it seems to be.
As long as Wake still sucks, nobody cares.
Yeah, right. Taylor Swift released her new album to much fanfare and sold like 1 billion copies or whatever, causing the Chiefs to run out of jerseys the same weekend. Yeah.
And finally, back here in DC, it's currently pledge drive time on WAMU, which means that we have to listen to all of Brian's AI jams instead of the real news. Yes.
A lot of good jams he has. He always has good jams.
Yeah, that's the headline. Yeah, my kids are like, hey, is it that thing that you hate when they do it on the radio? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And they're like, what's it called again? And I'm like, oh, it's a fucking pledge drive. And they're like, why do you hate it? And I'm like, because I already paid them and I just want them to go back to telling me the news. And they're like, it sounds the same as the news. I'm like, oh my God.
No, it's not. You know, the pledge drive that was really good back in the day, the WETA ones where they would have like the random things for like the kids. Like I never got anything from those, but there was always like a Thomas the Tank Engine type of thing that I wanted.
I got a Bert and Ernie.
Oh, wow.
Doll. I remember begging my mom because I didn't understand it was a pledge drive.
Yeah, I was like, they're just toys on the TV.
They're just like, I'm watching Sesame. You mean there's a Sesame Street toy?
And I've not seen this toy anywhere else.
I've never seen this thing.
It's not a normal toy. It's always something I've never seen.
And I'm like, oh, we can get that. Look, all you got to do is call this number.
It was so
my mom was like,
crazy.
No, I have to give them money. I'm like, right, call the number and give them the money. I will get a Bert and Ernie. And I guess I whined enough, and I finally got it. But yeah, it's those were the days, man. Also, they would run specials.
Yeah, they would.
You know, so like you'd see something kind of interesting and new, and they would couple that with the pledge drive so people would tune in to watch it. But yeah, it's been like, you know, can we get on with it, right? But apparently they've got a good response. Speaking of WME, if they really want to get the pledge drive open, have you heard the new guy that they got?
No, I have not heard the new guy. No,
Spencer Bryant. He's on in the middle of the day after Esther Chamakili and before the All Things Considered afternoon host. This dude's voice is everything we want in radio. Like, he's a younger guy, it turns out, and he, like us, was a backseat kid, grew up, you know, listening and dreams of becoming an NPR nerd or host, and is an NPR nerd. His voice is like when you imagine like 70s radio DJ who's just telling you the coolest stuff in the world, it's him. He's like, all right, welcome back to WAMU. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, I'm gonna go search.
I'm your host, Spencer Bryan, and hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'm like, this guy, get him to do the play. I'll give him all the money. This guy's amazing.
It's an intimate medium that you have to have the right voice for.
Oh my God, it's like butter. This guy I've been like messaging him on Instagram or whatever. I'm like, yo, we got to get you on the show. Like, we don't even have a topic to ask you about.
Just talk.
Yeah, just want to listen to you.
Yeah,
talk for a while.
Or we can find things for him to read.
Yes,
that's what we should do. If we get him, we find things like, can you read this for me?
Then he'll never speak to us again.
Yeah. Or you know what? We could say, you know, I love taking time off. We can have him do the headlines for us, and then we'll come.
And then he will definitely never talk to us again.
Oh my God.
Imagine him reading the. Hold on, I'm gonna do my Spencer Bryant voice and do one of these. You ready?
Pick one of them. Pick one.
Today, in a cabinet meeting, RFK Jr. confidently declared that he knew of 2 studies that said circumcision causes autism. Of course, RFK Jr. does love studying the circumcision of children, or how else would he know?
That has a tinge of Pablo Torre in it, the way you're doing that as well.
I can't do it. Obviously, I'm If I could sound like that, I would all the time. You think I want to sound like this?
I mean, you'd have to just dive into it because that's the other question. I would love to see if that's the voice all the time, or if you're or because some people can turn it up for broadcast.
Oh yeah, they have their NPR voice.
Yeah.
But like Susan Stamberg sounds like that all the time. I met her in the hallways at NPR, and she just sounds like that all the time.
Some that is just how it is. I forgot and Brian should get this. What's the wrestling term where the person is always on? There's a wrestling case. That's what. Look at you. All right,
I know stuff.
You know stuff too. Look, I mean, I have to go. You didn't have to go to the expert.
All right. Speaking of experts, we've wasted a bunch of time. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our first break. No, we're right on regular time. We were on CPT last week, which meant ahead of schedule. And now we're back on JPT, which is way behind schedule. Took us 40 years to go next door. How is that possible? Could walk there in a straight line in like about a month. And no, it's like 40 years. Took the longest way possible.
Yeah.
We heard there was a deli. We wanted to go visit. Turns out it was a mirage.
Oh my God. Pastrami mirage sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's a not okay thing to do.
I would friggin' lose my mind.
Don't tell me there's pastrami and then lie to me.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
If you hated it, it wouldn't be happening.
I know that's true.
Tell me you love me, tell me you want me in your life again.
I can tell you the first, but not the second. See the lights on the other side. I saw them on TV when I was a child. TV was my only life. I never
welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping, y'all? I like that.
Yeah.
Rocking.
Brian, what was that?
That was from, let me go back here. Mr. Jens Leckman on a pier on the Hudson. And from his album, Songs for Other People's Weddings.
That feels like a pier. That's kind of, the title is interesting. But what was it? A pier on the Hudson?
On the Hudson, like a place for
on a pier
shop?
on the Hudson.
Yeah, it feels like I'm dancing somewhere on a pier on the Hudson somewhere, I guess. Yeah, you know, at some
Cool.
at some other person's wedding.
Yeah. I'll buy that.
Yeah, I'm with that. I like that. Made me happy.
All right. Now we've come to the part of the show called the Rundown. This is where I tell you about some stuff that's gone on in the news. If we were professionals, it would sound a little something like this. Yep. That's what it
From
would sound.
Beltway Radio and Beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about well, maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jay.
That
And shout out to the Tigers. Still in.
Yeah, still in it. That sound that played before Jay was clearly the fake telephone that was in your People's and or the fake cell phone in your People's drugstore from 1995. Clearly, it's the gray one. It's a gray flip one, and there's a button on it. I know that sound. It has to be.
You had that toy phone.
I had that toy phone.
In 1995, I had a job.
Oh. Well, that's back when they let. That's back when they let children work.
No, I mean,
labor laws.
Yeah, it was still legal. I had paper from school. Said it was all right. All right.
Oh, the work permit paper.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I had one of those too. What was the paper thing? Yes, the good old work permit you did.
Yeah, you had to get a work permit.
Office. Yeah.
All right, so we got a bunch of stuff in the rundown, but the first thing that we do want to talk about is the ceasefire so far in Gaza. So during the break, I was able to get a little bit caught up. It turns out that the Israeli cabinet or the ministers did vote this through. I don't have a count on who voted for what.
Right. The far right would have to vote for this though for this to go through. Right.
Well,
there's no way that I haven't looked at the numbers of what the count would be to get it over but they would have to be some of them.
I think they basically, I don't know where Smotrich and Ben-Gvir ended on this, but they might be willing to play ball, long enough. Here's what's going to happen though, is that theoretically, in the next 72 hours or so, there's supposed to be an exchange of hostages and the remains of dead hostages in exchange for a bunch of Palestinian prisoners. And the IDF is supposed to pull back to some perimeter and allow in a bunch of aid. There's about 200 U.S. service personnel who are experts in logistics who are supposed to be assisting in getting that aid into Gaza. The death trap aid distribution centers that are currently operating are still currently operating. They have not been told to fold up or stand down yet, so it's not really clear what's going on there. Palestinians or Hamas wanted a written guarantee that the Israelis wouldn't attack. They did not get that. They got a verbal from Jared Kushner, so that's worth
ounces of gold.
Yeah. And in theory, then there's supposed to be a series of progressive steps towards an Israeli withdrawal in concentric rings, but there's no guarantee that they leave entirely. And there's American security guarantees to make the Israelis honor their bit of the deal. But those are, again, all verbal. And even if they were written down, I'm not sure.
See Qatar.
Yeah. What? So if you have to give odds or like pick an over under when this breaks down and who will initiate the breakdown, where are you putting that at?
I think there's a huge play around a lot of money on the day after for Gaza in general. And I think the larger plan, this 20-point plan, is huge. And I think, right, when you bring back in Jared Kushner, there's a larger play of him with the Abraham Accords, where I personally think the Arab states sold out to they sold out to do that. I've always felt a certain way about that. But I wonder if this doesn't break down due to the fact, I mean, there's so many, the fact that the state of Israel was moving towards being and could be still there as a pariah state almost. I mean, if you look at some of the responses from the UN and the rest of the globe, no, it has changed. There's a different vibe. It's clear from Europe to any other place outside of the United States of America that's like, oh no, this has gone on too long, and you're no longer defending what happened 2 years ago. You're creating it's a genocide. So I think there's that piece of it. I do think the Israeli public at a certain point is over this in the sense of like, hey, the hostages, like this has been a political play for a long time now and seem to be just trying to protect Benjamin Netanyahu. So like the public, it seems that they are against this. Obviously, I think Donald Trump is, while he won't act this way, but he's against this at the deepest levels in the sense that he wants to play this deal maker, this peacemaker, and get his Nobel Peace Prize. Obviously, that's it. Everybody has all these other everybody has a lot of things they're trying to do. So I think this doesn't break down. I don't, for some reason, I don't think
the disparate interests of all of these people gives it enough different groups have enough ulterior motives to kind of hold it together.
Yeah, it's weird. And I could be off on this, right? And it could be whether it's Hamas saying, nah, like you didn't go through it, and then Israel's like, well, then we're going to start bombing again, or if there's an issue with the transfers of prisoners either way, or like the prisoners or the hostages either way. Like there's easy things that tip this over the scale, and everything goes back to how it was, and they're bombing and killing children again. But I think there's enough people in it now that's like, no, we're going to figure this out. Now, I don't see the deal being advantageous to the Palestinians at all. I don't think that'll end up happening.
The only thing
they won't get the bombs don't stop. Like hopefully that's the one piece there. Right?
Yeah. The only thing that's to the advantage of the folks in Gaza is that the bombs stop and the aid theoretically comes.
Right.
I'm gonna guess. Here's what I think is going to happen. The Israelis are going to get their live hostages back.
Right.
They're going to get some remains of the dead hostages back. And then Hamas has already been hedging and saying, hey, listen, this is going to be complicated to find and get you all these pieces of all of these dead people because it's been bombed to smithereens and finding everything is going to be tough. I think what happens is one of two things, or maybe both. Hamas hands over stuff that isn't the right stuff, which already did happen in the last exchange.
Right.
Whether that's on purpose or by error, kind of doesn't matter.
Right.
And or they will take a long time to deliver on the remains of the dead hostages, which Netanyahu, I don't want to say the Israelis, but Netanyahu will take as unacceptable and resume bombing. They'll pull the aid out and they'll resume bombing. They will then tell everybody that Hamas co-opted all the aid for themselves, that they were never going to deal with this fairly. Because once they've got their hostages out, there's nothing to stop the Israelis from just resuming.
I think that sends Donald Trump over the edge.
To do what, though?
I mean, maybe it's something. He's he's been predictable with this. You could almost say he's been as predictable as Joe Biden, right?
Yeah. So what lever does he have?
I do think, again, his need and want for a Nobel Peace Prize. Benjamin Netanyahu is playing deep, and I think he cares more about that than anything else. And maybe he does do a drastic step that we haven't seen an American president do.
All right. 2 pieces on that. One, the clock on the Nobel, we're going to find out tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Because that peace prize is going to be announced. If it isn't Trump, he's going to say, see, the whole world's against me. I brought peace to the Middle East and they still fucking wouldn't give me this thing. Go ahead, Bibi, bomb all you want. That could happen.
Could, yeah.
That could happen. If Netanyahu defies the security guarantees that the Americans have given Hamas, what lever does the United States have to stop them from continuing? And the only lever is...
There's one lever. There's only one.
Cut off the weapons.
It's never been done.
They're never going to do that.
Yeah.
That's there because the second they do, Iran's going to bomb them. And there's no American president that wants to be the one. I don't care whether they're as crazy as Trump or anybody else that wants to be the one that allowed Iran to bomb Israel.
But you could defend against that if you chose to do that. The United States military could defend against anything coming out of fucking Iran. That is, especially Iran at this point now. Yeah, it's clearly that could be defended against. Like the United States could still play defense. We've seen them shoot missiles before, and those would get taken down by American defense. Like that no one say that the protection of the state of Israel isn't fucking going anywhere. I'm not saying that, but I do think any offensive stuff. And maybe it's not done fully, right? Maybe it's not done fully. Maybe there's specific things that get cut off. But yeah, that's the only recourse. And I just think it would you would have embarrassed Donald Trump in a certain way at that point. If the deal is like, if all this gets signed, because I still think we're in a weird area. I don't think we're there yet. But if we get 2 weeks, 3 weeks into
it doesn't go that long. It doesn't go that long. It goes measure it in hours. I think that by Monday the bombs are flying again, maybe Wednesday. It depends. Honestly, I really do. And I, disclosure: Jewish American, Israeli cousins, some of which are in the IDF. I think that the second they get their hostages back, the living ones, the war starts again, because there's just no reason to the Israeli public. Let's be clear about where the Israeli public is on this. They want their hostages back, and they don't want their sons getting killed in war anymore, but they are overwhelmingly supportive of the goal of, like, it's more than 60% favorable in all the polling of eliminating Hamas, whatever that means to them. That poll's even higher than that. But in continuing the campaign seems to be a popular thing. The general understanding in Israel about the absolute catastrophic waste of Gaza is not understood or ignored or disbelieved. They do not think that the people are starving. They do not think that the number of people are dead is accurate.
That daily interview with that woman who had the gall to go on and was like, I will not speak about this. And that was one of the crazier things I'd actually listened to. That the actual recoil or the backlash that she received from just saying like what was actually the truth. And like, I care about the children and yeah, it's crazy. It was insane.
From my own conversations with people who I know to be otherwise intelligent people with multiple degrees and successful careers, when you say, well, right, but lots of people are dead, here's 67,000, they say that's not the number. That's not real. That's Hamas is making that up. It can't possibly be that high. It's in the several hundred or something. I mean, something completely off the wall. They don't think that there's starvation. They think that the people in Gaza are, and if they are starving, it's Hamas's fault. They just accept no responsibility and no understanding of what's going on in there. And that is writ large the majority of the Israeli society. So they're not really worried about this. And I don't think the political pressure is there in the way that you think it is. And I think the political pressure is there in the other direction because the right wing wants this genocide to continue, and they do want to steamroll the Palestinians or eliminate them in some other fashion and take over Gaza. I don't know what they want there. There's nothing valuable there, but they want it. And they want to kill these people and get them out of their life. And if we're off next week, yeah.
Right.
But if by 2 weeks from now the war hasn't restarted, I'll be shocked.
No, I think that's huge if that's the case. The other question that, as you say that for the Israeli population, is then the one thing I have seen since the beginning of this war, and obviously getting where we're at now, and it is American Jewish folks that I talk to do not feel this way. It's been the largest I've ever seen in any type of conflict that's happened in the state of Israel, where the American Jew does not necessarily say, well, I'm not going to look at this with a critical eye. I'm going to look at this as a survival. And this is the first, and that is an interesting thing that I wonder, how do you square that circle going forward?
I think long term that leads to the end of the relationship as it currently stands.
Right? That's weird. I don't know how that, like,
I think ultimately when the history books are written 100 years from now, they're going to point to Benjamin Netanyahu as the demise of Israel in terms of its special status with the United States and the unconditional support and backing, because they have, according to the polls, successfully lost the support of people like me.
It's one of the I would love to like see this again, like the 20, 30 years from now, to your point, in the history books of what the researchers look into this, and as they dive into the data, and as this hardens for people, because it's just one of the things I've just never seen in my time here. And I just wonder, does any of that end up bleeding over into the folks who live actually in Israel? And I don't know. It's clear that you can't continue on this path, and everybody's in danger if you continue this way. And again, as you mentioned, or as someone else mentions you, like holy land, we could just, it seemed to be a better.
Land is a great move. Yeah. The option still exists.
It's the best thing I've ever heard. Like, it's clear as day. It's clear as day.
It's maybe that's what they're up to. They're building the parking lot now, and it's just going to be in Gaza.
Christ.
I don't know. I mean, I'll give it to Wednesday.
To Wednesday?
Yeah.
No.
If they're supposed to get the hostages back within 72 hours, I think it goes maybe 48 hours after that.
I think what they would use instead of that would be this Hamas disarmament. That's more where I don't know what that looks like, because there is no detail.
It literally takes one gunshot,
right? Yeah, no,
coming from someplace for the IDF to claim that Hamas shot at them, and there'll be no way to prove whether that did or didn't happen, and then they'll just go back to shooting.
Really, the only way you stop that is United States troops that are involved in this with the rest of the world. That's because I do think that is a line that if there are U.S. troops,
if an American soldier gets killed in this, that would stop things dead in their tracks. But that's why they're not deploying anybody there.
I wonder, though. Because there has to be, like, to the security guarantees, right? There has to be something. And I mean, I know there'll be Arab nations involved in this, but America has to play the biggest part in this.
There's nothing that will actually work. The ceasefire is to take effect within 24 hours of the vote. Israeli government spokeswoman Shosh Bedrosian said During that window, Israeli forces are to withdraw from parts of Gaza, including most urban population centers, while retaining control of about half of the enclave. Humanitarian aid is supposed to be surged to population that has been suffering hunger and deprivation. Hamas and allied militants will then have 72 hours to hand over the remaining 20 hostages believed to be alive, as well as bodies of 28 deceased hostages, according to the spokesperson. So there's no anything that holds this in place. Before signing off on the first phase, Hamas had wanted a written promise from the United States that Israel would not resume its attacks in Gaza after Palestinian groups hand over the hostages, their only remaining source of diplomatic leverage, which is very obviously the case. U.S. Representatives Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner rejected this demand, but offered verbal assurances, according to Khalid Okasha, an Egyptian consultant who advised the Palestinian and Egyptian delegates at the talks. Khalil al-Hayya, a senior Hamas official who Israel tried to kill in Qatar,
right,
like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, said that the group received guarantees from U.S. officials and mediators that the war, quote, had fully and completely ended. The wording of Trump's announcement Wednesday that the preliminary ceasefire and exchange of hostages and prisoners were the, quote, first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace was understood by mediators in the region as a signal that the president was committed to ensuring the war doesn't resume. But there's nothing here that is like a trigger mechanism that stops anything.
No. And I mean, even in the Times reported an hour ago as well, and this is the piece where I think it does need to happen. There will be 200 American troops that are going to work out like a civil military coordination center, right? That is established in Israel. Like, and they're planners and things of that nature, right? And there's a couple
of, but they're going to be in Israel.
Exactly. They're not going to be in Gaza.
Yeah,
they're not going to be in Gaza. And I think that is where you need American troops, because that's the only thing I think that will stop. I mean, they'll shoot journalists. They'll obviously shoot Palestinians. I do not believe that they will shoot U.S. soldiers.
No, but if the U.S. personnel are in Tel Aviv,
exactly, they need to be in Gaza.
But they're not. They're not going to be.
Yeah, we'll see. I will see.
They're going to be in Tel Aviv helping plan things, and then then the war is going to start again, and then they're going to leave. And they're going to be like, that's it, we're leaving. And then the Israelis will be like, okay. And then boom.
There's a lot of people involved in this at this point that do want to, I think, see this come to an end. And I
want is good.
It has to get to that at a certain point.
What is the mechanism?
I have more faith in this having a ceasefire than I have with Ukraine and Russia. I'll say that.
Well,
we're
going to skip them this week.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even got time for that, man. I don't even have the time.
We don't even have time for this.
Yeah,
Let's talk about our own country.
Go blue.
Thank you. Let's talk about our own country that can't get our shit together.
You're right. We're trying to go help the rest of the fucking world. We need peacekeeping troops in our own goddamn country.
We need peacekeeping troops in the capital, apparently. But so in the midst of this government shutdown, don't worry, Scott Bessent did successfully deliver $20 billion with a B dollars to Argentina today to stave off their most recent financial collapse, because Argentina goes through this pretty regularly, with which they are using their $20 billion to offset their cost of selling soybeans to China that are not being bought from the United States, because this administration hates farmers. Then they floated this idea of a bailout fund for the farmers who they've ruined. And the farmers are like, we don't want a fucking bailout. We want a functional market.
Right. The farmers are the last people. Like, all right, people who really like bailouts, bankers. People who really hate bailouts, farmers.
Yeah.
Like, they're the bottom of the list. They want to plant their crops, grow their crops. You know what a farmer I do think would take a bailout? Like natural disaster, severe drought, things of that nature.
That's why we have federal crop insurance. Exactly. That is essentially that.
Well, that's when they'll take a bailout. If
you hand a farmer a check and tell him this is for your whatever. He's going to interpret that as you saying, "Oh, you think I can't do this?" Like that's essentially calling him a failure.
Right.
And yeah, that's a group that don't like that terminology
At all.
But let's talk about our shutdown. So we're in what, day 19,000 of the shutdown? I don't know. It feels like it's just ongoing. It's going to continue to go. The important thing here is we want to talk about who's going to get paid. Okay. So a draft White House memo argues that furloughed federal workers are not entitled to back pay after the government shutdown lifts. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told NBC News she admitted to this. The memo that was first reported by Axios comes despite OPM's own September guidance that said that federal workers will receive retroactive pay after the shutdown. You want to know why?
Yeah, it's so dumb because there's a one guy who helped sign this into law.
Yeah, in 2019. You know who that guy was?
Yeah, this is the silliness that's going on. Yes, Donald Trump.
Stalin himself.
Stupid Stalin.
All right, so in 2019, there was the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, and it was signed in 2019 after the last very long shutdown, because we have gone through a lot of shutdowns here in Washington. We're very used to it at this point, which is really disgusting and hard to say.
That sucks. Yeah.
In most cases, after the shutdown is over, Congress then passes a law to back pay the federal workers who didn't get paid. But there was no guarantee that would happen. That sort of happened by tradition. But in 2019, they were like, this has happened too many times. We can't let this happen. We're going to put this in law, say that everybody gets paid. Okay. Here's what the actual line in the bit of code says. Each employee of the United States government or of a District of Columbia public employer furloughed as a result of a covered lapse in appropriations shall be paid for the period of lapse in appropriations. It doesn't say that they have to be working without pay like the air traffic controllers or the TSA. It doesn't say that that's subject to review by anybody. It just says shall be paid. Shall is a big deal in law.
Yeah.
When you get a shall, not a may or a will.
No, that's a definite.
A shall is a you shall.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to do it.
I mean, in the history of written text, thou shall. Like, whenever you drop those, it's
a shall.
It's always been the same in written text.
That is not a word that any of us use. I think the only sentence that anybody uses the word shall is like, shall we?
Yeah, and it's like posed as a question.
Yeah. Shall we go? Yes, we shall.
Yeah.
But there's no.
I haven't ever went to one of my direct reports and be like, you shall do this. That's crazy.
Whoa. That is an HR complaint waiting to happen.
Crazy.
Hostile work environment.
Hostile.
This guy came at me with a shall.
He's slanging, he's swanging shalls.
Oh my God. So yeah, they're going to try this nonsense. They're going to lose in court, but it doesn't mean they're not going to try.
They're going to try. Oh God.
If the goal is to traumatize the federal workforce, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Hang in there, feds. Please hang in there. We need you.
Yeah.
Turns out they need you too. After they dozed half of you, they're like, "Hey, come back."
The Trump quote in this is always it was insane because I remember reading it when I saw it.
Oh yeah.
He just said,
do it in the voice though.
No, he said, asked about the White House's position on back pay, President Donald Trump told reporters, quote, I would say it depends on who we're talking about. He added, for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. That's crazy. That is a crazy thing to write and to say out loud.
I listened to the quote.
Like a mob boss.
Yes, he talks like this wannabe Corleone. Like
right, it's exactly.
I believe the actual name is Dumb Corleone. That's
Dumb Corleone.
It's Don's cousin. It's okay. I'm offending like a fifth of you. I don't know what's your percentage, but I'm
25.
25. Yeah, okay. I've offended one-fourth of Tez's makeup.
And Mike Tirico.
And Mike Tirico. I think he's more Italian than you.
He's definitely more Italian. I think his mother is fully Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
50%.
Well, and I sent you that video.
Oh God. That
made me think of you.
that was insane.
If you're Black and Italian, shout out to you. Please come on our show.
Yeah.
We think you make up a big chunk of our audience.
Of course.
All right, so let's go on to another Fed or former Fed. One Jim Comey.
Oh, poor Comey.
Oof, what a sentence. You
Poor
sure
Comey.
you mean to say that?
I know, poor Comey. I mean, all of this is his fucking fault, anyways.
Yes.
To be honest, actually, but then I start saying it's his fault, and then I'm like, well, if I dig deeper, is it John McCain's fault with Sarah Palin? If I dig deeper, it's just like
no.
Bill
There are
Clinton?
Predecessors that got us here, but fucking that guy.
Yeah,
put it back up there. That fucking guy.
Yeah, he did this to himself, man.
He
Hillary
went out
Clinton
there
was
and
clear.
said, Hillary did it. I'm just not going to prosecute her for it. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. Him and Ralph Nader are like the two that I'm just like, these guys. All right, you want to know some like crazy shit?
Uh-oh.
I was driving the other day and I saw a couple of Chevy Corvairs together. They were clearly like people in a Corvair club meeting at this place. And I saw the Corvairs and I was like, oh, that's the reason that we have this fucking situation and like 1 million Iraqis are dead. And my children were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that's how my kids talk, right?
Right.
And I was like, yeah, because of that car, this guy Ralph Nader got famous, and then he made George W. Bush president, and then we had a fucking war. And they were like struggling, obviously, to connect those dots. They don't even know what a car is, but let alone what a Corvair is. But that is true. That car caused the Iraq war.
Could have been different.
Could have been. Okay. So Jim fucking Comey, who was the FBI director, he was FBI director when Trump was sworn in. He was running the investigation that turned up all of the collusion between Trump and Russia that Trump says isn't collusion. Then Trump fired him, and the Mueller investigation was put in to sort of like quell some of this. That obviously turned up a lot of stuff that then Trump lied about and said he didn't do it or whatever, and they fired Jeff Sessions and blah, 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 blah. Since then, Jim Comey has been like number one on Trump's hit list of people that he wants, if he ever got in charge again, if he ever got the control back, that he was going to ruin this guy's life.
Right.
And he's like, we're going to investigate the investigators. We're going to throw them in jail. We're going to do all this stuff. He attacked his daughter, got her fired, threw her off the case because she prosecuted. Who did she prosecute? Diddy. But also,
right.
Went after his son-in-law because he prosecuted like some January 6th stuff and a bunch of other things. So he's like, yeah, Comey lied to Congress. And Comey's like, I don't think I lied to Congress, but like the testimony's all there. Like, go ahead and take a look, right? So Trump goes, all right, I need a U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, for whom this is the jurisdiction, to investigate and prosecute this guy and indict him and stuff, right? So he appoints this dude, Eric Siebert, I think is his name. And he goes, go put Comey in jail. And Siebert's like, all right, I'm going to do my best. Right. So he goes, looks through all the evidence, and he's like looking through and he's like, I can't find any, and he's like asking his buddies, like, did you find anything? And they're like, no, we didn't find anything. He's like, did you find anything? And they're like, we didn't, but the boss wants something. I was like, well, we don't have anything. It's like, what are we going to do? It's like, well, we got two choices. We can make something up, or we can say that there's nothing there and sorry, we can't do anything about it. So he went with the second choice, and he's like, can't do anything about it. Don't know. Okay, so what happened? Trump fired him.
Get him out of here. Next.
And he appointed Lindsey Halligan, who is a third runner-up in some fourth-rate beauty pageant.
Sounds
That's true.
right.
She's an insurance lawyer. She has never prosecuted anything ever in her life, and appointed her the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia on an interim basis. So he's got 120 days till he tries to break that law again.
As we talked about last week.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so she's like, all right, boss, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the indictment, right? So she's like looking through the thing, and she's like, I don't see anything. And it's like, well, what did the last guy do? It's like, well, he didn't see anything either. She goes, I'm going to make something up.
The first choice.
Yeah. And her team was like, we're not going to help you with that.
No.
And she goes, don't worry, I'm going to do it myself. So she goes to the grand jury, and she had like 20 some odd members on the grand jury, or 32. I'm sorry. There's 32 members of the grand jury. You got to get 12 to get an indictment. She got 14 votes, which means not even a majority
Right.
of the grand jury voted for an indictment. She gets the indictment. It's 2 pages. Normally, when you have a lying in front of Congress or like lying to federal investigators indictment, it's long because there's all of the examples where you lied, where you conspired to lie, where you obstructed justice, whatever, right? But it's only 2 pages. There's nothing in it. And so she's like, all right, well, we're going to go to trial. And so they had the arraignment today or yesterday. Okay. Yesterday, Tuesday, I don't know, earlier this week, right?
Yeah, this week, man.
And here's the weird thing. She had to do the prosecuting herself. She had to be the one. Political appointees never.
That's not how this works.
It's not how this works, right? Because their job is really oversee the office.
Yeah.
And it's the line prosecutors who are supposed to do these things.
But no one's, yeah.
She couldn't get anybody to do it.
Right.
Do you want to know why?
Why? Because it's blatantly illegal?
Yes.
Right.
And if you are a barred lawyer in the Commonwealth and you participate in a vindictive prosecution, you get disbarred. You can't do that.
No, I know lawyers are not messing their money up like that.
Right. They don't want to lose their careers. So she brought in two guys from North Carolina who I guess maybe they don't have that rule. And so they're the ones like helping her with the case. Then the Tish James stuff broke today. She's doing that too.
Yeah.
Right. And again, she has to be the one to do it herself. So Comey is like, yeah, let's have a trial. He went on Instagram.
Yeah, his video with his
He's like, so let's have a trial. Let's do it, right? But here's my favorite bit about in this story. Let's see. Okay, the judge scheduled the trial to begin January 5th. That's a interesting choice of dates.
Careful what you ask for.
Yep. But Fitzgerald said that Comey's defense team plans to file a series of motions by the end of the year.
Yeah, they're going to try to dismiss this shit. Yeah, they're going to try to dismiss this shit.
Do you want to hear the list of reasons to dismiss the case?
Let's hear the list.
1, they're trying to seek dismissal of the case on the grounds that it constitutes vindictive prosecution. Number 1, that the grand jury process has been abused. Basically, she presented sets of conflicting evidence. That the Justice Department has exhibited outrageous conduct. And that the interim U.S. attorney that Trump installed with directions to charge Comey was illegally appointed.
Yeah.
That's 4 things.
Seems strong. It seems you can get 3 of those at least.
Just got to get 1.
Right, you need 1, but you could easily get 3.
And if they get it dismissed, they can try it again, but it's going to be tough. Now, if they go to the trial and it gets acquitted, double jeopardy, right?
Right.
He's scot-free, can't do shit about it, whatever.
There's not enough evidence unless they start just like snatching judges off, like maybe it just gets to like the full-on like fascists, and they just start appointing judges that are gonna represent. Like, yes, that's where we hope it does not get.
2 months ago, he sued the entire Maryland federal bench.
It didn't go well though for him.
No, but he sued the entire bench.
Yeah, the whole bench.
So we'll see what happens. Godspeed, Jimmy. We hope you avoid this ridiculous vindictive prosecution, and then shut the fuck up and go away forever, like ever. You're just a problem.
Here's the question, and I asked this the other day to somebody. I was like, well, eventually, when this changes over, right, and Democrats are in power, or let's just say some random independent just galvanizes the friggin' nation, and they let's say it's not even a Democrat, right? Let's say it's somebody else, and they're like, well, now as I look back on everything that's happened over this administration, like hopefully like over the 4 years, and it doesn't continue on in perpetuity, it's a dictatorship. But they look back and they say, no, Stephen Miller, you've broken the law. Russell Vogt, you've broken the law. Pam Bondi, you've broken the law. You go through all these people who've actually broken the law. How do you charge them? Because all of this will always be painted as political retribution. And I think the difference, like because there'll always be the folks who say, well, Biden shouldn't have prosecuted Trump or any of these other folks. But I'm like, no, the difference between that and this is that there's a mountain of evidence.
Right.
There's no, when you have these 2-page documents, when you look at those documents, they're freaking 48 pages, 50 pages long of
there's
huge
stacks of boxes in the goddamn bathroom.
Right. I just wonder, how do you get a president that goes in eventually and says, we're not prosecuting these people. We're not going to do that because this is, but then I sit back and say, but what about the rule of law and nobody?
Yeah, you can't do that. If rule of law is ever reestablished in this country, post-Trump, whenever that is, it will require
these people to go to jail.
Under the jail.
Yeah.
It will require that this country, and there was an attempt to do this, but the wheels moved too slowly during the last 4 years.
Right.
But there needs to be swift and solid, provable beyond any doubt. And that was kind of what you saw with the J6 Commission and what Cheney and Schiff and them were trying to do, which was to establish this evidence so crystal clearly that when it inevitably is challenged as being political retribution, you can say it isn't. And go read this and knowing that a good chunk of people just aren't going to believe it. But the clapback has to be strong. The moral center of the electorate has to say, this is never going to happen again. We're going to do, I mean, if you
we need Congress to pass laws a lot around.
Yeah, there would need to be a real, very solid response, and that's got to be like a decade long, like truth and reconciliation kind of thing, where everybody gets the evidence out. There's consensus amongst the mainstream of both political parties.
Right.
This thing is bad. It's got to get handled. And it sort of ends up in maybe like a Germany sort of situation where, certain activities are forever banned or under surveillance or whatever, and we're just not going to have that again. If you look at the center left and the center right in Germany, if there's certainly no daylight between them in terms of whether fascism or Nazis are bad. They all agree that is bad. Right. They want to make sure that never happens again. We need something like that, but that's going to require that the majority of Republicans flip. Because right now, the majority of people who identify as Republicans are fine with this level of fascism.
They shouldn't be, because if this gets flipped on the other end for them, that would look insane.
Yeah, but they don't think that's ever going to happen.
I think people should be because that would be the reason I would be trying to make that deal, is because God forbid, again, Democrats get in and someone is like, no, we're not. We'll play the same game. Right.
Yeah, but keep in mind, they called it tan suit fascism.
Yeah.
So like their concept of what is and what isn't the end of the republic are really different.
I also think this country has an issue with calling like history what it is. And then do you look at something like, you look at the Civil War, and right at the end of that, right, you bring back in people who have actually rebelled against the country and say, it's okay. You know what? You're white, I'm white. It's all right. And I wondered, like, do you look at, like, you have some daughters of the MAGA movement, and like you have a bunch of like white
Yeah,
women.
that's the problem, is that was handled poorly.
Yeah, and we see what it got us.
It's exactly what it got us. The losers got to write the story.
Yeah,
so
well,
you can't let that happen again.
You can't let that happen again. And I do think, but there is like strong laws, like stronger than anything we saw that came out of Watergate. Like it has to be, like you almost have to use Watergate as like that can be a blueprint, but you got to take it 10 times stronger at this point.
Well, nobody conceived of this.
Yeah. No. But now it's here. And now there is a time. I mean, and they wrote about this in the Atlantic in the last issue. It's like the amendments to the Constitution need to eventually happen. Like that is still an option, everybody. I know we look at that as being like so crazy, we can't do that, but it's a document meant to be amended. I don't care what anybody says. Like it is set up to be changed. And whether it's laws in Congress or amending it, and I do one thing I do agree with is that we've used the Supreme Court to try to amend the Constitution a little too much
instead of actually
doing amendments and going through the long, strenuous, and maybe again, it's probably too hard to amend the Constitution. Maybe we should look at that as well too, because I do think it's the 2/3, especially the way like the way this country is set up at this point, that might be too strong. But yeah, no, it's clear.
But that's what I'm talking about. It requires the big coalescing of the middle to come together and to take a very serious and long-term concerted look at this to fix it. And because we thought we had that after Watergate, right? That was where
and I think we did somewhat.
We kind of did, and but just like with a war, right? You're always fighting the last war.
Yeah.
So the laws were written to prevent another Nixon, and nobody conceived of Trump.
Right. Nixon was the worst it could be.
Well, and to that point, and to most people's minds, that was the worst you could have, was a president with an enemies list, a president who orchestrated criminal activity on his own behalf, who lied about it and covered it up, who was running secret weapons programs and all kinds of other things, who invaded Cambodia. Like, there are so many things that were despicably un-American about what Dick Nixon did. And the post-Watergate laws were put in place to stop somebody else from doing it. You know what Trump did? Trump not only did worse things, but he also figured out he could just break the law and dare somebody to come after him. So in order to fix that, you almost need some sort of like super authority that would be able to supervise the regular authority. And I don't know how you could even do that in an American system, because here again, you have this problem of enforcement, right? Who is it that adjudicates all this? Like, look at this Hatch Act stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Hatch Act says you can't use the federal agencies for partisan things and whatever, and it really even like explicitly prohibits federal employees from expressing too much partisan views and all kinds of things like that in a public fashion or in their capacity as their job. And what do we have here? The president he's got his agencies putting their out of office emails and their website saying the goddamn Democrats caused a shutdown. And if you go, hey, that's a violation of the Hatch Act, the way the Hatch Act is written, that gets reported to the Office of Independent Counsel, which was set up to be outside the control of the White House and deal with whistleblower complaints that were coming from within the executive branch. But instead, what happened is Trump fired the Office of Independent Counsel and basically made the claim that that's really an executive branch agency anyway, and he would have to be the one to enforce the Hatch Act, even if somebody did issue a complaint. That's the kind of thing that our system has not considered. What if you have a lawless president,
right?
A lawless executive? We have one now. Here's your example. So
I got voted in by the people twice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we survive this as a republic,
which we will
have to make some serious changes to prevent this from happening again. Because, as you mentioned, he was elected twice, right?
Right.
Somebody with malintent, or maybe even with good intent, but willing to, cut some corners and break some ankles to do it, might say, hey, that's a pathway.
Okay. Didn't I say about over a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, he should never been in the ballot in the first place?
Well, yeah, but the Republic,
but that's not how that
there's
works.
there was a mechanism to do that, and the Republicans, again, back to Chip's issue,
Right.
the actual majority of folks wouldn't do that because there is a mechanism inside.
What a primary.
Yeah, I mean, call the primary, but even then, like a full-on impeachment from when he sent his
Right.
supporters to run and ransack the Capitol. There was a way to destroy this at one time, and we were so close. It felt like we were real. It's hard to describe that time because it felt like, oh, it's over with, y'all. Okay, this has gone on too long. Like we saw it from Lindsey Graham to Mitch McConnell to all these people. We saw it, and again, it failed. They're scared.
We got to the part where like Luke turns off his scanner,
Yeah,
and fires the photon torpedoes into the exhaust port, and they deflect. Like and they deflected. That's where we got. We got that close. And Mitch, Graham, whoever,
right.
Grassley, all of them looked around and were like, you know what? No. I want this thing. I want this guy who sent his horn-wearing thugs to kill Mike Pence. I want him to be okay. And I want him to come back.
I in my deepest of hearts don't know if they wanted him to come back. I do think they didn't want to be the ones to drive it, right? Because it puts a target on their backs, right? And I do think a lot of folks thought that the American people would never go for this again. But I do think random things that end up happening after a pandemic and inflation, and people are like, my egg prices are too high. He's going to bring them down.
The senators were open about this in several instances that they literally feared for their lives if they voted to impeach.
Yeah,
and so
how do you because in lots of things when people move in fear, they give up all of their rights. We can see that, and we see Congress moves in fear and is giving up all. And I need Congress to pass laws and to be a check on the executive. And that is no longer the case. And they're moving to take it where they make the executive as strong as possible, which I think will eventually backfire. I think
eventually it's already backfired.
But I'm just saying, on their end, when a Democrat, a liberal Democrat, is in the presidency and says, "You know what? We're not playing by the rules. All rules are over with.
We're rescinding the money to the DoD." Yeah,
I mean, crazy. That's crazy.
Okay, I hear what you guys are saying, and I agree. Mind you, you're preaching to the choir, but my viewpoint here is like I said about a couple months ago. He should never been here. The man was already convicted. He was waiting sentencing. And I know, Chip, I remember you saying the fact is like, oh, due to the fact of, the laws of the land, because of the fact it's like, well, you can't prevent a person from running office, but, even though he's in trials and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, but this man was already convicted.
Okay.
And I felt like it's like, and you're saying it's like, how do you deal with a lawless president? Simple. You know full well this man is lawless.
Yeah, but who is the authority that adjudicates that and takes him out?
Hello. If you keep saying we have these laws and we have these judges and all that stuff, but here's the unfortunate thing here. This is the unfortunate thing we have. And I know you haven't mentioned, but you kind of, skimmed it here.
Insufficiency.
Yeah, it is the simple fact that is like when the Republicans want to have, are big babies and they want to maintain power, they let everything slide. They did it with Bush 1, they did it with Bush 2, and they're doing it with Trump 1 and 2. Because of the fact is like they know full well since Nixon, they were in a losing battle because that man pretty much gave him a black eye you could never imagine. And even though Reagan's policies made them a lot of money and all that stuff, but really they were really shitty because it's well evident 40 years later they were bad. And
I don't like
heard
that you said 40 years later in reference to Reagan. That's offensive, and I want you to take that back.
But anyway, anywho,
yeah, okay.
The point is, but the point here is the fact it's like, you know, for the Republican Party, if you think about it, if Reagan never appeared, let's put it that way, we would have had a list full of Democrats being president for these last 50 years. Carter could have had two runs. You can throw in somebody else, and we could have had, you know, Al Gore could have replaced Clinton afterwards. We have our 2 Obama runs and all that stuff. We would not see a Republican for a good long time.
It's not good for the country to be under one party rule for a long time.
No,
yeah, I wish there was. I need a strong Republican Party. It's not crazy.
Yeah, and Brian,
you think about how this Republican Party has been for all this time since Reagan.
Yeah,
but they're running hungry. They're power hungry, and they're spoiled. They do not want to work at all.
Okay,
they just want to sit back and rely on the legacy of Reagan and all that stuff, and then rely on a madman who doesn't know what the hell is going on.
They don't care about any of that.
And none of that.
You're probably right about a lot of these things, but like you're appealing as if there's some like replay booth that you can go talk to like argue the umpire's decision. There isn't. Okay. There is. The unfortunate thing is like none of those people in there want to remember it, or better yet, want to talk about it. Yeah,
but care about it.
Who do you think you're appealing to? Who would take Trump away? Who would make this get fixed? There's nobody there.
Of course not. I know that. We know that. All 3 of us know that. No, there is no Republican leader. You know, the men you've mentioned will not have the damn balls to say this guy is wrong. Look, because they want to stay in that seat. And like you said earlier, because of the fact of fear factor, because all of his, the Trump, Trumpistas will probably go after their heads because they went against their leader. Yes. So you need a fundamental change at the grassroots level. It's not going to come from the top. It's certainly not going to come from a bunch of Mitt Romneys somehow getting in control of the party and being like, we're going to establish decency. That is not going to happen. What you need to do is get the people at the ground level who feel wronged by the system to correctly assess who is it that's doing the thing to them. And that is a very difficult task. You can watch Marge kind of like poke at this. She's a good example of somebody who's like amorphously angry. She's pissed off. She doesn't know quite at what. She knows she and the people like her are getting a raw deal, but they don't know who is it that's doing it to them. And they think that it's the goddamn Democrats and the Jews and the globalists or whatever. But when they get close to it and they look and they kind of poke a little hole in the paper and they look through it and they go, oh, wait a minute. It's these guys. They're the ones who are doubling the insurance premiums for my adult children, she says. And she goes, oh, wait a minute. It's these guys who won't release the Epstein file. It's like if people in Marge's situation were a tiny bit educated about how things actually work, they would probably come to a better realization. She got a crash course in it because she ended up in Congress, and when she went to go throw bombs and say things that were crazy and off the wall, it didn't work because that isn't the mechanism. But if you're a guy in a parking lot outside a Tractor Supply arguing or chatting with your buddies and you go, yeah, well, that's how they get you, that's what they do. None of those people would have passed high school civics. None of those people have any idea about the 3 branches of government. They certainly don't understand how budgets and appropriations are. None of that stuff. But if they did, there's no way they would hold on to the same conclusions that they currently hold. So you just got to figure out how to get them
like a tenth of the information in a way that they're going to believe it. There was a story today on NPR that said that Republicans, in the polls that they conducted, now trust RFK Jr. as much as they trust their own personal doctor. This is a guy who today told everybody
There's
that
also
a brisk-
60% of people that think he's a lunatic, though.
Yes, but amongst Republican
Republicans,
voters, the numbers are way higher, and they love him and they believe him, and they are sorting their medical choices by their partisanship, and this is going to cost lives, thousands of lives, maybe more, and they're not going to learn from this. So, like, your appeal to this thing of like, hey, you guys, you definitely know better. Wake up, rejoin the rest of reality, get back together, and cast this out of your party so that you can go back to actually getting some of this great American pie that you want a slice of, or trying to get some sort of progress on your own life, financial, educational, whatever. They're not going to get that. It's either going to be the barge or Darwin that's going to come for them. And
okay, I like I said, you're preaching to the choir here with that stuff.
Yeah, but stop saying like he should never have been allowed to. Who could have disallowed him? Those people aren't going to do it. Because,
well, here's the thing. Here's a possible change that I've said this many times, even on this show. You have to. There is no way in the world a senator and a congressman should be in a seat longer than a president. It makes no sense. You got guys in there.
In the Constitution that says
that. Like I said, you said amendments. You want amendments. That's been one of the changes.
We need like 70 amendments in this Constitution. There's like maybe there's 100 amendments that we need to do.
We can't even ratify the one that says that people are equal.
Yeah, we're still been trying to do that one.
I know.
Yeah.
It's too difficult to amend the Constitution. It's too difficult.
Right.
It's not too difficult. It
really is. It's very difficult.
Here's why you say it's too different. It's too difficult because of the fact it's like you got a whole bunch of people up in there, been in there for as long as probably Washington was born, and you want to stay in there. That's why it's been difficult.
Well,
I need 2/3 of the country to do. If I need someone to propose an amendment first, right? To have the strength, the courage to propose it, which they get proposed. There's been
they have,
but
there has been several. There has been some reported documents of they have tried to propose it. They have tried to propose
purpose.
It is hard for the federal government, but if you look at the state legislation, there it's easier to approve state constitutional amendments.
Some states, yes.
Yes,
I understand that. We should look at that.
Some states can do it pretty easily. Some states, it makes it very difficult. But again, that's a federal system, and that's just what we've got. I mean, if you want to amend the Constitution, you have to get that amendment proposed. It's got to get voted on by 2/3 majorities in both houses, and then it has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states.
It's a lot.
And they have to ratify it.
Which I think a lot. If you say 3/4, pretty much, I think that could be passed. I really think there's a lot of states.
It hasn't.
We can't do it. Yeah,
it hasn't. And
it hasn't. But again, it
really
has been fully tried.
Yes, they have tried. The Equal Rights Amendment passed out of Congress in the late 70s, and it is still waiting for enough state legislatures to ratify it for it to even be potentially, and people say that there's some legal question about whether that's still even eligible.
Right.
If it did happen, they're not even close. It is so difficult to get consensus in this country. That's what the difficulty of passing an amendment is essentially a consensus test. And if you want to do something that will drastically alter the way the country operates, you probably want it to be something that everybody or nearly everybody wants to have happen.
Okay, so pretty much here's the thing. We're relying on, based on what you just said, so pretty much we're relying on our representatives to vote for all this.
Yes.
It ain't coming to us to vote for it as a voter.
there's no mechanism.
You're telling me I have to rely on my representative to have this pass.
That's right. There is no mechanism.
That's where I feel is the problem is.
Okay, but the Constitution does not allow for direct voter ballot initiatives to change the Constitution or to make an amendment. It is a representative government. We are a republic. That is how this works.
That's where I think this change needs to be.
But you're not understanding.
I understand it. No, I understand it. Trust me, I do understand. I understand the fact that like where this country is now is fully relying on individuals who claim that they have our best interests in heart, which they do not, because either they're being funded by some corporation that we do not know about, or whatever they have their own personal interests they have. Those are pretty much the only two reasons why they're still in that seat. Those that I really support. Like let's say the AOC, I like her because she's independent thinking. She knows what she's talking about, and she's been through the dirt like everybody else.
Okay, but none of that's really relevant. The Constitution was written, it was signed, it was ratified by the states, and that is the thing that we, as a country, as a republic, have decided to use as our basis of government. Right. And it spells out specifically how amendments can take place. And they require that process, right? The Congress has to vote on it, and it then has to be ratified by the states. And the state legislatures, which are also made up of representative government, have to vote on it. We have a republic. We do not have a democracy in the sense of a direct one man, one vote democracy. We have a republic. That is how it was set up. That is what we have agreed to as a country. There is no other mechanism. If you want there to be a direct to voter issue, some states have ballot initiatives that allow you to do certain things that way. But fundamentally, state constitutions often require both the legislature and a ballot initiative or a referendum to pass. Some states require that, some states don't. But the federal government, the United States Constitution, has a process. And no matter what you think should be right, or what there should be term limits, or what there should be who gets to vote on it, that isn't what it says. And we have no other mechanism other than what is in the Constitution. There's no higher authority to appeal to. There's no do-over. There's no VAR. There's nothing. There is just what's written on that piece of parchment by a bunch of slave-owning white guys in the 1780s. And that's the process. You don't like it? Tough shit. And that's it. That's it. I don't know what to tell you. You can wish things were better, but there's nobody to appeal to.
Then, like I've said before, then all it is this whole cycle is going to repeat itself.
Well, no, I mean, you got to use the mechanism. I mean, here's the thing, right? This has gone on too long. The show's going to go on for
yes, I got to go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. You did this anyways. Yeah, but there are mechanisms to make changes in this country, and those mechanisms have worked in the past. Now, anytime there's been amendments to the Constitution, it's been a lot of hard work from the people, right? If you think at all of these things, right? Or it's been a catastrophic thing that's happened like the Civil War, right? It's these crazy things that happen, right?
Or it's a mundane and easily understood
it's some
thing, like
thing,
changing direct elections of senators from being appointed by governors to being directly elected by the people of their
Everybody
state.
can get behind that.
Everybody understands that. Yeah.
Everybody gets behind that. But no, there are mechanisms to make changes to everything here. And we have to go through those mechanisms.
And all of those mechanisms essentially do serve as a test of consensus.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
It's kind of ingenious.
It's smart. It's pretty brilliant. It works pretty well for preventing wild swings in either direction.
But everybody has to get behind it. And that goes back to politics in general, which we've moved away from, is that you need people who are persuasive, who can lay out their plan and be like, hey, this is what I think we should do. And you need to be able to persuade the public. And
And you need a gravitational force to the middle.
Yeah.
To create that kind of consensus. And there have been examples of that in history, but we are, as a country now, pretty far away from that.
Well, here's the test. Here it is. This is the test.
And to Tez's point, a lot of these amendments came after catastrophes.
Okay.
And we may be running towards our next set of amendments.
Right.
After a major catastrophe.
And I think that is because I do think there is an end of violence and bloodshed that happens, but I do wonder, when you have that in America, you are able to get amazing things that happen after that hopefully bring more of a small d democracy to this. But there's at this country, whenever that happens, there is a lot of bloodshed and turmoil to get there.
And some of it is kind of hidden, and some of it's very obvious, right? We don't get to 13 and 14 without the Civil War. But, 19,
right?
We get that after a 100-year struggle of women wanting to be able to vote. This seems so fundamental and simple.
Yeah.
And it took 100 years of people pushing for that from the very creation of the country. And the women looking around going, wait a minute, where are we in this conversation?
Right.
And from like the early 1800s to when the 19th passes in the 20s?
Yeah, 20s, yeah.
That's a long time. And there were a lot of people arguing for it, for all that it took a lot. And that seems like a really obvious thing. Half the population can't vote. Well,
yeah, it seems basic. Yeah.
Right, but they're women, so who cares? It's that it is a measure of consensus. Speaking of consensus, let's talk about the enemy within. Okay. There is no enemy within. That's a lie. Donald Trump is making up fake things to try to start a war. He wants the Civil War. He wants to kill everybody. He's a bad person, and we hope that he exiles himself nicely.
Yeah.
I caught myself.
Yeah. Good job.
So that's cool. Here's how that's playing out. There's a federal judge on Sunday dealt another blow to the Trump administration's plan to send federal troops into Portland, where the frogs are gay.
Gay frogs.
Yep. This is the judge. Her name is Karen Immergut. She was appointed by Donald Trump in 2019.
Like they all have been.
And so basically what happened was Trump tried to call out the Oregon National Guard to go invade Portland, and judge was like, no, you haven't met the threshold. There's no emergency here. It doesn't make any sense. No dice. So Trump's like, all right, I've already federalized the California Guard. I'm going to send them. And the judge, Immergut, was like, hey, you fucking moron. I just told you can't do that with the Oregon troops. You can't then just go get some California troops and try to do the same damn thing. How about nobody can go anywhere in Oregon? How about that? And boom, that's the order, right? So Trump goes out and he's like, never liked this judge. I don't know who appointed her. Whoever that was is an asshole. And then people are like, you appointed her. He's like, she's a radical leftist. Nobody likes her. And it's just like, this is the problem. This is the stupid Stalin aspect of it, right? It's his own judge. Can't get it figured out. Now this is playing out in Chicago. So right. Chicago is also not a war zone by any stretch. There are protests against what ICE is doing. ICE is operating this thing called Operation Midway Blitz, which, can we please get some better writers in this fascist regime to come up with the names of things? That's a terrible name. Midway Blitz. Sounds like a video game that didn't quite get off the drawing board.
Here's what it is. And I'm clear that this is how someone named that. Someone was like, hey, you know what game I really love that was a lawless game? NFL Blitz. You know the developer who makes NFL Blitz?
Midway.
I guarantee you.
And what is Chicago famous for? The Chicago Midway, right?
Midway. Yeah. It's clear as day. I can't report this. I have no sources on this, but I know someone in that administration loved that game. Said, I got it, guys. Midway Blitz.
It's stupid Stalin.
It's
That's
stupid
exactly
Stalin.
what it
It's
is.
just stupid Stalin. Yeah.
All right, so they are operating in Chicago. They are shooting at protesters. That's not good. They are ransacking apartment buildings. They are sweeping up everybody in these dragnets. They've arrested and detained and attempted to deport U.S. citizens. It's a really catastrophic situation. The people are not having it. The people are upset about it. They are peacefully protesting. I want to heavily emphasize peacefully. And for the most part, it's like really localized. They'll pick like a particular neighborhood, or they'll go to the ICE detention center and go hang out outside. And they're doing things like marching, carrying signs, singing, and sort of sitting around obstructing cars. All pretty standard protest stuff, a thing that this country knows how to deal with, that law enforcement certainly knows how to deal with, has dealt with in the past. Chicago in particular has a lot of experience with this kind of thing. And Trump is like, well, we're at war. And he posted that meme of him with like, now they're going to find out why it's called the Department of War. And he posted a meme of like himself being in Vietnam or something. I don't know what he thinks he's doing. Their meme game sucks.
It's bad.
He also posted a photo of what he claimed to be, I think it was, maybe that was, it was the Republican Party of Oregon posted a photo of quote unquote Portland on fire. And then people zoomed in and were like, hey, those police shields say Policia on them. Are you sure this is in the United States? And then it turned out it was two Getty images that they, got, and one was in like Brazil and the other one was in like, somewhere else in South America. So that's not how that works. I mean, that's really basic shit. Like you couldn't just edit that a little bit. Just stupid Stalin.
Stupid Stalin.
All right, so he's like, yeah, we're gonna send the Illinois Guard into Chicago to go shoot people, and Governor Pritzker was like, the fuck you are. And so then that's an incredible graphic. Jesus.
Now.
Trump's like, where am I going to get some troops? And Greg Abbott was like, I got some. And Trump's like, all right, quick, give me your troops. I'm going to send them to Illinois. I'm still, and I've spent a week trying to figure this out. I'm unclear what legal justification he's using to send troops into another state against the wishes of the receiving state's governor.
There's none. There's only one option that eventually we'll get here with, and that'll be a whole different thing. It's the Insurrection Act. Yeah, it's the only thing. Yeah. It's the only thing. Like, there's no law. That's the only law that's on the books that allows us that.
So there's two titles that govern use of the Guard. One's 32 and one's 10. And in 10, the federal government can federalize the troops of a state and use them and pay for them and pay their benefits themselves and use them for a federal mission. Title 32 is when they're on a state mission but being paid for by the federal government. But neither of those things, in my reading of them, has any mechanism by which you can forcibly deploy federal troops of one state into another state over the wishes of that governor. You can certainly do it.
Sovereign states.
Right. You can certainly do it with the permission of, like, say there's a flood in Tennessee and Kentucky is sending troops and the feds are paying for it to help them shore things up. Totally legitimate. But sending troops from Texas into Illinois under federal control would constitute a violation of the sovereignty of really both of those states, but Texas is willingly giving it up. That would violate the sovereignty of Illinois, and the 10th Amendment is pretty clear that all the things not specifically prescribed to the federal government in the U.S. Constitution are therefore reserved to the states, which would include their state boundaries and control of their state militias. I haven't been shown, and I've done pretty extensive research on it this week, any piece of U.S. code, title X, Y, or Z, that says that this is legal. I know that Trump doesn't give a shit about what's legal or what's not, but this seems like an easy one to win in court. We're going to find that out. I think maybe tomorrow.
Right.
That Illinois and Chicago have sued over this, and based on what we've seen in Oregon, I think they're likely to be able to win. Both the case in Oregon was upheld by the Ninth Circuit, said that Trump could still federalize the Guard, but that he couldn't deploy them
Right.
while they're still checking this out and stuff. And there have been several other cases where this has been attempted, and it just doesn't seem like it passes muster. But the courts are in this weird position where they're basically going to have to make a decision of whether they are in a place to say what is an emergency and what is not.
Right.
And previously, we've seen them be very deferential to the executive and say, look, if the executive calls it an emergency, we're not in a position to say whether it is or it isn't. I think this is different. I think we could be crossing a Rubicon if that's the case, but I guess we'll wait and see. What matters is the reaction. And as long as the people in Chicago, Portland, or otherwise don't take the bait,
Right.
keep calm, keep singing, get the dancing frogs, whatever, but don't shoot at them. Don't fight. Don't throw things at them. Don't overreact. What they're trying to do is provoke a response, which will thus justify their fascist tactics in the first place. That is the classic fascist playbook. Create an emergency, claim that you're the solution to the emergency, and use that as a way to suspend the normal order of things.
Yeah, I mean, the other piece of this as well is that, like, the Insurrection Act being the mechanism that they need to use, I don't know how that actually, there's no much, because it's not happening. There's no insurrection.
Yeah, but
Right,
if it's up to the executive to determine what is an insurrection, then we've got no way to handle that.
No, it's going to be insane.
All right, look, we've got just like one more thing, part of the show left to do, really, which is the local news. So do you think we can power through that?
All right, let's try to power through it.
Is going to make it?
Yeah, will I make it, or I'll just disappear from the screen? No, the local news, I have a lot of thoughts on this local news because it's very, I'm glad I'm not in politics.
All right, so what's up with this curfew nonsense?
All right, so there was a lot, as they say, the Washington Post reported this. Fireworks erupted in D.C. Council on Tuesday over the emergency legislation to extend special juvenile curfew zones, leading to a highly unusual sequence of events in which lawmakers rejected the bill, only to go on recess for a closed-door meeting, take phone calls with the mayor, and then return to the public meeting to reconsider it. They ultimately put off the final decision. So what this is, and in the summer, right? If you've been in Washington, D.C., from time to time, you'll see mobs of children. It's a lot of it's a lot of kids. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a lot of kids. I've come out of like a Nationals game and it's been clearly like could easily be somewhere between 30 to 50 kids at one point. Like it's a lot of kids.
Isn't there the line about the 30 to 50 feral hogs on my front lawn or something like that?
Yeah, something of that nature, right? And this legislation comes in from Brooke Pinto, obviously Democrat from Ward 2, who I think is trying to now run to unseat Norton, yeah.
And hopefully will.
Yeah, I mean, but you also have, I think Rob White is also trying to do that.
Anybody, I don't care.
Axios did a very interesting thing on all the political people. I was a story I should have dropped into this that I probably will weave back in about like everybody's position. They were like McDuffie is like the mayor that is supposed to be mayor, that's been supposed to be mayor, and like they called Rob White the opportunist, and like it was a very interesting article on it. To digress from that though, but they want to extend like a stricter version of a citywide curfew that would go into effect at 11 p.m. instead of midnight and apply to everyone under age 18, and rather than those under 17. The bill would also grant the police chief power to create special temporary designated curfew zones where juvenile curfew is set at 8 p.m. Right, so as an example, let's say Friday night on U Street, if you were 18 or below, they could say that whole zone is off, and then they would go ahead and be able to boot you out of that. And they mentioned in this as well too, during the spring, the Navy Yard, the Wharf, U Street corridor, again, these are the places where there was a lot of disruption, And again, like around businesses, I think it's another.
Yeah,
thing.
that's the
But
thing is it's about
that's
the
the
money,
problem.
right?
Yeah, it's the money is where this comes down to, right? And as it was stated in here from Pinto's quote, I don't think this is a panacea to solve all enforcement challenges with our young people, Pinto said during the council debate. But it is one tool that I think has been effective for 3 months. But there was a lot of pushback. So my council member, JLG, Janice Lewis George, and she will always see on the side. She's like worried that one federal officers, right, who are along with DC Patrol could start engaging the youth. And I think that is a fear. That's a fair fear to have. And as she mentions, I'm afraid of extending this provision to be used as a pretext for to target Black and brown youth who've already been targeted in this moment. I do think I do lean more to that, because around these laws that you end up enforcing, like, when does it get to a weird point where, like, if it's Friday night and like a kid wants to go out to a movie, right? Like, they're allowed to, like, is there an issue? Like, if 5 kids want to go out to a movie and they're in this enforcement zone, like, should kids be able to do, like, yeah, if your 17-year-old friends in high school, right? Should you and like 5 or 10 other people be able to go see a movie, right? I do worry about that.
Well, if it's in Cleveland Park, yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. But then if you're in Cleveland Park, it's like, oh, hold on, are you going to be profiled for a whole different reason? And
why are you in Cleveland Park?
Why are you in Cleveland Park?
With tint? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think this is the part of government, right? And it'd be interesting because I do think the population of DC will probably agree with this. But Janice was saying she called for the council to hold oversight hearings about how DC police have been coordinating with federal law enforcement. And Pinto agreed that the public should weigh in, right, about the experiences and would consider holding hearings. But she said she had the opposite view from Lewis George, believed that juvenile curfew would protect youth, not harm them. I mean, again, I see where Pinto's trying to go with this. I feel like there's there's a little spin around this. I will jump directly to, obviously, someone, full disclosure, who I support and very close with, my good friend Zachary Parker. He was convinced, again, that this was effective for the purpose of dispersing congregating teens. And to quote him, he was like, in many respects, I view it as a proactive tool versus calling in the police and others to respond or react after there's been a big brawl. And that actually was just to kind of to tie that together. Tom Lynch, who's one of the spokesmen for the police department, was talking to the Post and said on Tuesday that police encountered widespread compliance among the youth in these special zones. And Lynch said the purpose was not to make arrests, and none were made, but to order large groups to disperse. Once we were able to use the curfew zones, we didn't see these gatherings, right? So the police are saying, hey, we haven't arrested anybody when we do this. We go ahead and like we tell them, and they've been cooperative and they've left. McDuffie questioned whether special juvenile curfew zones merely sent mischievous young people somewhere else.
Apparently not, though.
Right, exactly. Apparently not. I mean, they do go somewhere, right? I mean,
they go home and chat with each other on their phones.
Right, exactly, right. And there are 5 council members that went ahead and rejected this, right? So obviously Lewis George, Brianna Doe, Robert White, Trayon, and they all voted against this because the emergency bills require a supermajority to advance this here. And then I guess this is the weird part that ends up happening, right? That's when all the phone calls begin. As Henderson spoke on the measure, the let our vows and
they basically moved on to some other stuff. Right. They moved about like marriage equality and a few other things.
Government shutdown, marriage equality licenses during the government shutdown.
And they kind of like forgot about this, what they were doing, and then they all got back together, and then they're like, all right, let's do the curfew thing again, and then Pinto like withdrew it. And was like, all right, well, let's go talk about it some more before we go any further.
Yeah,
what happened in those phone calls?
I wonder. I just wonder. It's really hard right now, I think, to make laws in the district. Or I can only imagine like the folks in the Wilson building trying to like enact laws right now and during the time. Like, it's difficult with just what everything that's happening here. I don't know. I do feel a way. Like I am. And I know Brian probably has a lot of comments on this. I feel a way about how they're going about this. Is it a problem? Clearly, there was a problem over the spring and summer of groups of, and for me, I think I look at it from a place of privilege, where I look at these motherfucking little kids in their fucking eyes, and I'm not afraid of these kids, right?
Right.
And I look at like it's not as I'm like what I don't care if there's 30 of them. I wish someone, but I understand where this frightens a lot of the new residents into the business, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and I think
And the business aspect of it's real, right? If you got a bunch of kids blocking entrances, people can't come in and buy ice cream or whatever.
Yeah, and it feels right. Like to me, I'm like, these are children, and I'm not worried about the fucking children when the children start making the rules. But I do wonder now if the council is asking that as well too. It's like, what is there a point? Like, should there not be the kids on the street at this time? I think this comes down to parents.
That's a parenting decision, not a legislative decision.
And that's where it's like it's really hard for me to look beyond the parents of this, and the larger like socioeconomic things that could
give
drive,
them
like,
something better to do.
I think we're not creative enough. We're not.
What happened to like rec centers or youth centers or nighttime basketball or any of these other things?
Like I think like throw on the music the kids like and like have like chaperones and like a dance or something. Let the kids like I think music is one of these things that you could drive with people. Like,
go put on shows.
Yeah, like there are options, and I do.
There are go-go bands who are looking for gigs,
right?
And they will solve this problem.
And we talk about, we've talked about the infrastructure piece of there should be infrastructure in DC for the youth. Maybe it is on a Friday night where they're able to go and give them something to do, and they will go there. And you know what? If you make it something that they enjoy and that's creative and engaging for them, they will do that because they're children.
And if they can get there on the metro,
right? And if it's free,
yeah, they're gonna go.
And
so I would put on a show at Fort Dupont Park and let them all go over there and hang out and listen to music and maybe like donate some free chips and soda or whatever.
Yeah.
And let them go chill.
And I would be happy for my tax dollars to go towards that. I'd be
100%.
happy. I'd be happy for that. Because
matter of fact, all those businesses that would be making more money because the kids would be out of the way so that all the adults can go spend the money, that's where their tax money could go. Virtuous cycle.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but I do know that these children scare people, and we go back to fear. And when people are moving on fear, that's where you have these issues. And I think there's
who are they scaring?
I think from what, and just talking to people, and granted, when I was doing this was like in the pandemic, so I think it was a different time, and there were different issues at that time. I think if you look at violence in the city at that point, no matter how I want to like square this, that it's not as bad as it was, there was still an uptick in it. I don't think we're no longer in that pandemic phase. But it's clear I saw a contingent between new residents and older Black residents that were like, there was almost this alliance of like, oh, we need to be deeper and tougher on the kids in this tough on crime thing. And I do think you will see the mayor put out a bill though eventually that is more of these tough on crime aspects, which I really hope doesn't happen. But I also know the police. I know the mayor has been looking to increase the police support or the police force for a while now, and I think she might use her new relationship with the federal government to do this, to get funding for that. And I think you'll see a big crime bill. The big crime, I think, which I don't think is smart, but I think there's going to be another big crime bill in DC that does the thing that we've done multiple times in the city, is where we don't look at programs and things of that nature, and we'll just lock these kids up, and they'll build a bigger prison and a bigger cage to put them in.
I
And
don't
unfortunately, I think
mind
that's coming.
getting more cops on the street if the idea here is to spread the load, make sure that the cops who are out there are less jumpy
Right.
and not so stressed and all of that stuff. I think that's fine. But yeah, it's got to be coupled with crime prevention programs, things that
Right.
derail or, violence interruption and all of that kind of stuff. But also, giving the kids something to do. I don't know. My guess is that set of phone calls was basically Bowser saying, hey, this is jeopardizing home rule. Whatever it is that y'all are about to do,
Right.
don't do anything. Because right now, they're not looking at us. And the second we do something big, they're going to look at us.
Right.
And Bowser just wants the federal government to forget that DC is operating at all and just keep the focus. It's like the eye of Sauron, right?
Yeah.
You can't let it focus. If it looks at you, you're in trouble. So
Yeah.
don't do anything to draw its attention.
Right. Don't put the ring on.
Yeah, exactly. All right. While we discuss Virginia, you want to go handle what you got to handle?
No, I can make it. I'll make it.
All right. Jay Jones. Problem. Sent a bunch of text messages to Republicans when he was back in the state legislature and talking about the Speaker of the House at that time, how he would love to shoot him, which isn't good. He had an incredible quote about Hitler, Pol Pot, and Speaker Gilbert, in which he said if he had 2 bullets and the 3 of them were together, Gilbert would get both bullets each time. And yeah, that's not good. Jones sent texts in 2022, not long after leaving the state legislature. In messages first reported last week by the National Review, he imagined killing GOP Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates and discussed urinating on the future graves of other Republicans.
Are they pissing on graves again? Oh, Lord.
Yep. He laid out hypothetical in which he had 2 bullets to fire at then State House Speaker Todd Gilbert, Hitler, and Cambodian dictator Pol Pot. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot, Jones wrote, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. It's not good, right?
No.
This is the October surprise, right? That everybody's hoping. Jones was already kind of a lousy candidate. He hadn't raised a lot of money.
And they've been beat because I'm seeing the ads now because I watch football again, and they've been beating his ass over the head with these fucking ads, yo.
They've been going after him for not having any experience as a prosecutor, and Miara as having lots of experience.
Is he the one too? They say that they keep saying that he was ripping the police officers out of the schools. Is he another one? Or
yeah. They went after him for wanting to reduce the number of school resource officers, which again, it's like a nuanced part of policy and something that, we've all talked about of maybe we don't need cops with guns in schools and that causes problems. But of course that doesn't fit in a bumper sticker or an ad.
No.
Our listeners probably by and large understand that the Attorney General isn't really a prosecutor, but I don't know that the majority of voters understand that. And so this whole idea of, well, he's never prosecuted a case in his life, it's not super relevant to being Attorney General, but it is a compelling argument and it makes him a bad candidate. So it's just, I didn't vote for him in the primary. I thought he was kind of a weak candidate then, but that's the problem. And the problem is that this could drag down Spanberger and Hashmi with him.
No way. No way in hell.
Virginia is an interesting place, right? Because our 3 statewide elections are individual and they're not on a ticket. So it is possible, and in fact, probably in this case, likely, we're going to end up with a Democratic governor and a Democratic lieutenant governor and a Republican AG. We've had the flip of that. We had Mark Herring maintain his job as AG for several cycles. And, those things can happen. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. The October surprise, the other direction. Now all this stuff coming out about Winsome Earl Sears and her finances.
I'm talking. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's I am speaking.
I'm speaking.
That's her making fun of Kamala.
Right.
By the way.
Yeah. It's so insane, though.
but it does a good job of painting her as a crazy, wild, angry black woman with a big gun.
Yeah,
which is a good image if you want to show that. It signals something to some people.
Yeah, yeah.
But so her finances are not in order, and it turns out that she's been a little cagey about reporting things, especially trips and stuff while she's been working as lieutenant governor. And then the other flip side is now we've got the Islamophobic attacks on Ghazala Hashmi coming from the right, saying that she's a terrorist and, Hamas or whatever, which of course she's not and has nothing to do with that and is, pretty anti-terrorist, I think, in her career. So it's all just like this mishmash of crazy. Spanberger's got the money. Sears doesn't. I don't know that still is going to play out. The lead is narrowing some. It would be a really catastrophic problem if Winsome Earl Sears became governor of Virginia.
Happening. No one, look, no one, that's not, I just know.
If the first black woman governor of a state in this country is her, it sets the cause back substantially.
No way in hell. No way in hell.
I hope you're right.
No,
I'm worried. I said no way in hell about Hillary too. So
yeah.
Okay. Lastly, here we've got deep fakes and robot girlfriends. 1 in 5 high schoolers are getting down with their Chat GPT girlfriends.
I love this too because this is a place that's near and dear to my heart. My former employer here, CDT, and my good friend Elizabeth Laird reported this here actually.
Yeah. Altogether bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. No, I mean, this research that came out, from CDT is there. 1 in 5 high schools say somebody they know has had a romantic relationship with artificial intelligence. Like, the fact is, like, I thought this would have been better for the elderly. I didn't think the kids were going to be this. But then when I'm finding out about children,
Rule 34, dude. Rule 34.
Yeah.
If there's a way to make it into porn, the internet will do it.
It will do it. It's just between this and kids exiting college, not being able to read a book, I don't know which one upsets me more.
Books are for nerds. Yeah, but so it's bad. 800 6th through 12th graders put in the study, and 1,000 9th through 12th graders and 1,000 parents. The vast majority, 86% of students, 85% of educators, and 75% of parents say that they use AI during the last school year. There's all this question about whether teachers are using it to grade things. Like yes or no Scantrons, sure. That's the same thing. But this all has to slow way the fuck down. Like way the fuck down. People are this is that horse is out of the barn. I don't know how long it's going to take for people to like swipe back left on this, but this is we have gone really too far too fast. People have got robot girlfriends. They're getting catfished and deep faked online. People are voluntarily putting their faces in Sora so other people can make deep fake videos of them doing shit that they didn't do. I saw somebody made one of Stephen Hawking doing the.
Oh God, that's a good. All right, that's a good waste of water. That's a good. So those are very funny, but
no, they're not funny.
That one is funny. I'm sorry.
It's a problem.
No, it is a problem. It's here's a few things and there's a lot. The other problem is around the economy and what's fueling the economy right now, and it's 5 fucking companies, and they're all freaking involved in AI.
And it's all speculative, and it's this huge bubble, and it's gonna burst. And it's not good for the resources.
No. We are destroying the planet extra fast. If AI is gonna fix the planet as it destroys it, I don't really know how you square that.
It's gonna fix the planet by getting rid of the problem, which is us.
Look, the robots aren't gonna be able to survive the water, but the animals, there'll be a few humans that survive. A few.
Those of us that can swim.
Yep. That's
all right. And speaking of places with a lot of lakes, let's go to Michigan to end the show. So a Republican state lawmaker in Michigan who has condemned LGBTQ rights. He called oral sex a crime against God.
Hey, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
you know,
and
get the
look-
fuck out of here, man. Look, dude, look, yeah, I'm not here to yuck other people's yum. All right. But get out of here. All right. Go to hell.
Obviously, looking at him, he just doesn't have any
Clearly.
experience with it. That's
Clearly.
yeah.
When I saw this, I thought this was a Jamaican.
he introduced legislation to ban pornography in the state. He's been linked. You know, he's done all this stuff. Well, it turns out, yeah, he loves adult dating websites and group sex and all kinds of other stuff.
It's always
He's got all his his usernames all over these places. I think Brian showed the one called Fling. Not really expert on that. Shriver's account, which advertised that he was interested in fetish and group sex encounters, appears to have been inactive since 2010, when he was in his late teens. You know, when most people get heavily into porn, I guess.
Right. You know.
He denies ownership of the accounts and claims that the records were forged. I've never heard of the website or access it, but the same email address and password appear in multiple other breaches linked to Shriver's verified personal accounts, including MySpace and Chegg, a homework help platform. Whatever. Yeah. So this guy, he's a loser. He wants to make sure other people are also losers. He did not vote against a ban on child marriage, supports child marriage. Yeah, he also generated controversy for voting against a ban on child marriage and the closure of a loophole that allowed husbands in Michigan to drug and or sexually assault their wives in some circumstances, which I guess is a thing that husbands in Michigan are doing. And I'm saying that wearing a hat. It's not my people. He's also a big fan of the Great Replacement theory. So he's due to get a job on Newsmax probably this week.
Very soon.
Yeah. What a gross loser.
I have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not good news. Sister Jean passed away at age 106.
Oh.
Loyal Chicago icon. You know, that
made them get to the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was huge.
Loyola.
That feels so long ago. How long ago was that? That might have been, God, that's years ago at this point.
I'm
trying to find. It feels like it's been a while.
I think it was in Trump 1. So
2018.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that's sad. But I mean, it was coming. She's 106.
That's a long life.
That's a long life of being good to people. Hey, you want to know the secret to living a long life? Be a nun.
Yeah.
You know, love your neighbor and shit.
I don't know. It seems like hate is also driving other. It's like one or the other. Like you're either like super good and you live long, or you're super hateful and you live forever. I don't know. It seems like both.
Judging by the state of my knees and how much I hate Ohio and Dallas, I'm going to go with good should probably win out. But, you know, to each his own.
To each his own.
All right. That's the end of the show. We're right on time. Thanks for radio partners. Whoever it is that's listening to us all over the world, thank you for the big bump in numbers. We really appreciate it. Thanks to NOTN, which I did check out this week, is still operating, but does not carry our show anymore. Thanks anyway. We love you. Thanks to Google, Apple, all the big conglomerates that we speak so kindly of on this show here. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, CoPlayMedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as Pam Bondi talking to her children. Based on the way she yelled at the senators. Yeah.
Right.
I don't even know if she has kids. Probably. Who knows? All right. Where can everybody get you on the socials there, Tez?
The Heritage Guide to the Constitution. No, you can find me at DC Cortez on Blue Sky.
All right, you can find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find me on the Blue Sky at Chef Chip, my old Twitter handle. Come hang out with us and find out what's going on before we come on this show. And, of course, you can find us every Thursday night, but not next Thursday night because I'm going to be prepping for a bomb spiel. Come to the Glitter Bomb Spiel if you want to see queer curling. because that's a really inside baseball
Yeah, right.
niche.
Very inside
There.
baseball.
You want to go hang out with queer curlers? There's only one place in the country to do it. It's at the Potomac Curling Club next weekend, the 16th and 17th or whatever. So come hang out. It's going to be fun. I promise that. I don't know how good the quality of the curling is, but I promise that the food and the atmosphere will be great. So you can come check us out, come meet me, and I'll sign an autograph or whatever I usually do when the fans.
I usually do when the fans show
You know, I mean, I try to take selfies with them, whatever works for them. And you can, so then after that, you'll find us here most Thursday nights here on Beltway Radio and beyond. And of course, on Rip Radio Network, now that we're back on the air, simulcasting. And so I'm Chip, that's Tez. Brian's in the background hating the children. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
Another chapter in history, another verse. Trump promises political violence, but no hearse. FTG and Shapiro try to rap, but don't rehearse. These right-wing nuts can't get any better, just worse. Tez and Chip out here trying to save the republic like Tez on the golf course. It ain't private, just public. When we have a drink in the bar, it's not beer, it's a public. It's hard to get something to rhyme with this subject. If we get famous, we can give a shout out to Brian. To get us out on time is what he be trying. The show is like a custom feathered avian that knows words. How can we stay late when our guest is Illy Bird? In conclusion, the message is to go out and serve folks, whether that's through art, music, or if you just tell jokes. Seek to medicate your ears, hope you eradicate your fears. And thanks for sticking with us through all these years.